Thank you all for coming in. I think we should begin. We want to welcome everybody who's streaming with us. So glad you're here. If perchance you are visiting, those of you in the room, are you visiting with us? We would love to have your name and contact information. There are green sheets to fill out on clipboards at all the exits. We do not need you to sign there if you already get the mailings of All Saints Church, but this is to help everybody get an email blast on Thursday or Friday saying what's going to happen in this room and in church every week. We have actions today. The action table is on the lawn instead of in here, so we hope that you will all go by and support the President in his executive action about comprehensive immigration reform, and also reach out to our brothers and sisters in Islam in Raleigh, North Carolina, over the horrible shooting deaths of those 3 youth. For those of you who may not have been in church, we are still needing I think it's more around $150,000 to balance the budget, and if we don't have the money, we'll just have to cut expenses. So don't want anybody to be surprised if we have to go in that direction, but that's where we are. Now, let me call to order the 2015 Annual Parish Meeting, Part 1, and ask you all to stand for opening prayer. God dwells in you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with us as we take counsel for the renewal and mission of this faith community. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor, your glory, your kingdom. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you all very much. We are going, please put on your seatbelts. We're going to clippity-clip through this very fulsome agenda, hoping that we have some time for questions at the end. So that's why we're going to be a little breathless now. It gives me great pleasure to bring before you the junior warden and a former senior warden, Kathy Kegg, to appreciate our retiring vestry. Will you please warmly welcome Kathy Kegg?
Yeah, right. Good morning, All Saints Church.
Good morning.
So happy to be here today. I want to just give you a little taste of our retiring vestry. We had 2 students that were full acting members of the vestry with voting powers and participation in committees, and they were absolutely awesome. Rafael Gonzalez, who I don't see with us, is currently a member of the Seekers program. He serves as an acolyte. He participated in the 30-hour fast. He is a faithful participant in the youth program. Raphael has always demonstrated a gentle, caring spirit, and he is both a great listener and a clear thinker. We're saying goodbye to him and off to college for Raphael. Lauren Hellman completed Seekers as a freshman. She is an acolyte and a former member of the Trouvères. She also participated in the 30-hour fast. Lauren is a participant in a very active participant in the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force and participated in a transformational journey to Mexico. As you can see, Lauren is a deeply passionate and caring person who brings a healthy joy and energy to everything she does. Thank you to both of our students. Next, Chuck Bush served on the Finance Committee, and he was constantly challenging us to push the envelope. He's deeply committed to multiculturalism in our parish, and during his time on vestry, there was a new baby in his family, so perhaps there's a future vestry member there. Ray Lemus has been one of the forces behind the 1 p.m. service. Ray gets to stand up. He was very active in the Prop 47 campaign. He volunteers on the Peace and Justice table on Sundays. Ray also took a transformational journey to Cuba, which is his homeland. Thank you, Ray. Shizzy, who could not be with us today because she is at a board meeting in Houston. I think she'd rather be here. And there aren't words to describe Shizzy. She is finishing her 2nd term on vestry and brings a richness of wisdom to our deliberations. She has been an ongoing member of the Giving Committee, including chairing the telephone campaign. So many of you may have heard from her on the phone. She serves on the Congregational Development Committee, and she has served on several discernment teams. Finally, Jan Sanders, well, not finally, second to last, Jan Sanders. Jan served not 1, but 2 years as the chair of the Giving Committee. She oversaw the shift from stewardship to giving. She helped break in the new guy, Jim LaDuha. And besides all that, Jan has remained a constant with the women's community. Thank you to all of you. Finally, last but not least, your senior warden, Nancy Necker. This one gets a little personal for me. Nancy has been a tremendous leader and has become a very important friend to me in the course of this year. It's been an honor and pure joy to serve as junior warden under her leadership. My 2 favorite words for Nancy are tenacity and grace. She demonstrates them every day. She sticks to what needs to be done, even when others of us get distracted or move on to something else. She speaks her mind without being offensive. Maybe I'll learn that from her. Nancy pushed and pushed to get our emergency preparedness plan. She's front and center with the Giving campaign. She's committed years to the Sunday school program. I could go on and on and on. Nancy knew that as Ed prepares to retire, we have to extract from his brain all that he has accumulated in regards to our Giving community. Nancy stepped up, she's doing it, and All Saints Church is a better place because of her. Thank you, Nancy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our retiring class. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Just to let you all know that these people retire not today, but at the April vestry meeting. So if they begin to waddle and limp and quack, please tell them to snap out of it. They're not lame ducks, and they are to work until their last retiring moment. Now that everybody, I think, is pretty much assembled to my right and my left, I simply want to reiterate and explain why we are arrayed the way we are today. To my left are all the vestry, and we've heard about the retiring vestry. You're about to elect the new vestry members. And arrayed to my right, your left, is the staff. I know what you're thinking. You're looking at them and thinking, my God, what a group of good-looking human beings. And let me tell you what I'm thinking, that these are the hardest working people in church business. And I am so glad to be their associates and colleagues. Thank you for being here. It takes a lot of moving parts to make this circus, this 8-ring circus move, and so that's why they are here. Now, a very important moment in electing our new vestry. Just, I know Nancy is going to say something about this, but I just want to underscore, this is the most prayerfully discerned aspect, I think, of All Saints Church. We meet for months and months and months and hours and hours and hours of prayer and discernment, choosing just the right people for the vestry. And I'm very, very excited to ask you to warmly welcome to this podium for introducing them our senior warden, Nancy Necker, please.
Good morning. After careful consideration by the Vestry Nominating Committee, I am happy to introduce the slate of vestry candidates for election. First, I'd like to start with Jay Beloli. If you want to stand up. Jay is the retired gallery director for the Armory Center for the Arts. Jay has been a Covenant 1 and Covenant 2 leader and a lay Eucharistic minister, and was the Foster Care Project Chair. Thank you. Next is Chris Caldwell. Chris can't be here today. He's also at a board meeting. Chris filled an unexpired vestry term last year. He was appointed by the rector, so he is eligible for re-election. Chris is an attorney and has been involved in Beyond Inclusion, the CYF Adoption Group, and Exploring Membership. Chris is currently the vestry finance chair. We have 2 youth joining us this year to replace our retiring youth, and the first one is Roland Christ, which I don't believe is here. Roland is a junior at Eagle Rock High School. He's an active member of the youth program, and he's a 3rd-generation parishioner. His grandmother is Dorothy Christ. Valerie Coachman-Moore, if you could stand, please. Valerie is a self-employed management consultant. Valerie has been involved in the call to community and is a lay leader. Valerie is a regular at the 7:30 a.m. service. Thank you. Next is Dana Jones. Dana is the Director of Franchise Management for Disney. Dana is closely involved in the Parent Culture Group and has a 3-year-old son who is active in preschool Sunday school. So thank you, Dana. Our second youth is Sophia Meyer-Yen. Sophia is a junior at Arcadia High School. She's an active member of the Wednesday night youth program and is an amazing acolyte. Thank you. Jenny Watts. Jenny is the curator of photography at the Huntington Library. She has been involved with the 8 Habits of Love small groups and is a mother of 2, 1 teenager and 1 preteen. God bless you, Jenny. And last is Robert Whitson. Bob is a research scientist at the City of Hope. He is currently a member of the Task Force on Climate Change. Bob has acted as a congregational dinner host and is active in Bible study. So thank you. I'll now turn the meeting over to our rector, who will conduct the voting.
Thank you very much, Nancy. As our bylaws require, we publish these names in the newsletter an ample number of weeks prior to this meeting, and we received no additional nominations from the floor. So this is your slate, and I would now entertain a motion that we accept this slate and elect them. Is there a second? Any discussion, questions, confrontations, feedback? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much. We have you all on board now. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's a thrilling slate, and they will get to work immediately. They've already come, many of them, to a vestry meeting. They've been through an orientation session, and now they will join us at the vestry staff conference this coming Friday and Saturday, and I am thrilled by them. A rather recent change in the canons for the diocese requires that we elect our 2015 Diocesan Convention delegates. Although that meeting does not take place until the first weekend in December, we now have to elect these people. We always have some kind of shifting between now and then because it's so long down the road, but I would please like for you to just look at these names from Greg Adams through Jim White. We'll sort out who will be a delegate and actually who will be an alternate when we get closer and see what their travel plans are. But I would now like to receive a motion that we elect these diocesan convention delegates. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very, very much. I am leaving in May of 2016. I know it's a big shock, but we needed to get a rector search committee going, and we are in such great hands. This is a national search, and it takes just the best kind of folks. And so it was an easy thing to put these people on the rector search committee. We just got everybody who had formerly worked for the Central Intelligence Agency and simply put them on because they have to do a lot of spy work throughout the country and the globe. They are so beautifully chaired by two former senior wardens. Would you please warmly welcome to the podium Bob Long and Gloria Pitzer for a report.
Good morning. Good morning. Just so there's no question, because Bob and I often get confused with each other, I'm Gloria Pitzer, and that's Bob Long. In the last 20 years, I've noticed that certain events in Ed Bacon's life tend to be brought up over and over and over again in sermons and announcements and forums and other communications. His collaborations with Oprah Winfrey and his visit to the Dalai Lama are two that come to mind. And by the way, do you know he wrote a book? So I'm sure that the announcement of his retirement in May 2016 is no surprise, since the subject has come up in sermons, email blasts, letters, and other communications no less than 47 times since Ed announced his intentions last November. Bob and I were appointed by the vestry in December to the challenging, rewarding, and somewhat intimidating task of leading the search committee to find a new rector. We met with the clergy deployment officer at the diocese to discuss our anticipated process and the role of the diocese in that. We had conversations with chairs of other search committees in the diocese who had recently gone through rector searches. And we met with Russ Coley and Elsie Sadler, who had chaired the search 20 years ago to bring Ed Bacon to us. We also began the process of identifying candidates to serve on the search committee to present to the vestry for approval in January. It was critical that those on the committee know All Saints well and basically have the church's DNA in their system, that they be wise, have good judgment, be able to work together in a cooperative and collaborative process, and have complementary skill sets. We also wanted to mirror the rich diversity of All Saints in accordance in terms of age, gender, sexual orientation, race, and perspective, and limit all of that to 15 people, counting Bob and I. A pretty formidable task, considering the wealth and talent we have at All Saints. I'm pleased to say that the committee, which was appointed by the vestry in January, is probably the most awesome in terms of gravitas, varying skill sets, hard work, and collaboration that I've ever had the pleasure to serve on at All Saints. Many of our members are here this morning, and I would like each of you to stand up if you're here. So if you have questions, that's who you go to. There's a rector search link on the All Saints website which shows our entire committee and will be updated with news and information as we go through this process over the course of the next 15 months. The website also contains contact information for Bob and me, and we welcome your thoughts, comments, or questions that you have at any time. Our committee and subcommittees have met and been working diligently over the last month, developing our process and timeline for the search, and Bob will be talking about that part of the process. But before I turn it over to Bob, I just wanted to say that there appears to be developing two factions on our committee as to how the search process should be conducted. One alternative, which possibly could be just mine, is to utilize the entire budget set aside for the search and hire the best scientific minds in DNA and cloning techniques to utilize the DNA of, among others, Ed Bacon, George Regas, Marcus Borg, Desmond Tutu, Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Eddie Murphy, because we want this person to have a good sense of humor, and Oprah Winfrey, because we don't have to worry about finances. And out of all of this, to build our own composite rector that can lead All Saints into the future. Now Bob's going to talk about our other much more mundane alternative.
Actually, I'm not Bob Long, I'm Ed McMahon. Our committee has already hit the ground running and are working hard. Our hope is that by this time next year, our vestry will have approved a recommendation from our committee for the hiring of the next rector of All Saints Church. It's important for all of us to recognize the vestry whom you have elected is the people that we work for as the search committee. We're not working for the rector or for the diocese, we're working for the vestry, we're working for you to find the next great rector of All Saints Church. Our first milestone out there that we need to achieve is the preparation of a parish profile. The parish profile is basically a prospectus which describes our parish to prospective applicants and those that we want to get interested in coming to, potentially coming to Pasadena. It describes the church, and it also will list the qualities that we think are most important in the next rector of All Saints Church. Now, we're not going to create that out of whole cloth. We want you to help us participate in the preparation of that document. And there are two ways you can do that, two ways that you can help inform that process, and we actually hope that everybody in the parish takes advantage of both of these ways. The first is a survey that we are currently preparing that we hope to have available. We'll announce this to you. Dory and I will get out an email blast to you when it becomes available, that you can either fill out online, which would be our preferred route to do it because it helps us compile the data, or if you choose not to, we'll also have hard copies available. This written survey will ask you a series of questions about your church, about what you think the strengths of the parish are, the areas where you think we need to be improved, and the qualities that you would like to see in the next rector of All Saints Church. The other, and also I think important way to gather your feedback will be through what we're going to call focus group work. Everyone in the parish, we're going to do focus groups of groups like the vestry committees and other groups around the parish, and we're also going to invite each of you to participate in a focus group. Now this will be, we're going to select 4 or 5 days, a couple during the week, a couple during the weekend, and invite you to come. We'll be divided into groups of about 10 or 11 people. Each group will have a trained facilitator to facilitate the discussion, and someone there who will be trained as a scribe to make sure that we capture the thoughts that you provide in that process. We also hope to have, we're going to have a lot of these, so we're going to have a schedule to work out here that's going to be a little bit onerous to complete. We hope to have 1 or 2 members of our committee at each one of the focus groups so that we can hear what you have to say and collect all this information and help inform us in the preparing of the parish profile. So that'll be coming at you in the near future here as well. And as like I say, we hope all of you participate in that and share openly with your thoughts and ideas about that. We hope to have the parish profile completed and available. It'll be available to you online and probably by hard copy by May or so, at which point our position will be officially posted in the diocese and nationally, and we're going to do a lot of work between now and then in terms of beginning to identify potential candidates, but that's when the first posting of our opening will occur. So I invite you, as Gloria has done, to visit the link on the All Saints website to the rector search, and as she had indicated, if you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to share with either one of us on behalf of the committee, we are certainly welcome to take that and have discussions with any of you at any time along the way, and we'll do our best to try to keep you apprised of the important milestones as we cross them. Keep us in your prayers. This is, for all of us on this committee, a daunting task. I think this is maybe the hardest thing I've ever undertaken. And so we need your prayers and support throughout the whole process. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gloria and Bob. If you have any questions, we will receive those at the conclusion of this meeting, but we need to move forward with the report of the senior warden. Next week, I'll give my State of the Parish address, and we'll talk more about Nancy Necker, and we'll announce to you who the upcoming senior warden is and who the upcoming junior warden is. But let it suffice to say at this moment that I don't remember someone who has been more engaged in meetings, in giving me great advice, than has our senior warden, Nancy Necker. She and her husband, Phil, have been here for quite a while and raised their two sons here. She has kind of come up through the door of our Children, Youth, and Families department. But my goodness, as soon as she got on the vestry, she made this entire parish and all that it does her baby. And she has cared about it. She has attended meetings, and she has given me very sharp and constructive critical advice during her entire tenure. Will you please stand and warmly welcome Nancy Necker.
Good morning again. I'd like to begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to our absolutely stellar staff. Thank you, all of you. Your steadfast and compassionate work is what makes this place hum. And I want to thank all of you, the parishioners of All Saints Church. You are the heart and soul of this place. Your diverse lives help us spread the gifts of All Saints to the community, and you have a huge impact on each other and on this church, so I thank you. As warden, I've attended hundreds of meetings, and I do mean hundreds. We have quite a collaborative process here at All Saints, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I welcomed it, I loved it, and I have been revitalized by it. All Saints is a church continually growing and renewing. We are now about to make another new transition to a new rector, and I am delighted to tell you that we are poised on this threshold with our church on a firm footing. Our budget has been balanced for the last 20 years, and we have no debt. All Saints has recently become more intentional about community building. A year and a half ago, we created the new position of congregational development. We began the task of inviting, engaging, and following up with parishioners. Here is our intention: to retain more members, to foster spiritual growth, to emphasize mission-oriented work, and to experience connection with each other. We greatly expanded the welcome ministry by adding greeters and expanding the welcome table. We started a mentoring ministry. We are in the process of revising the lawn experience by centralizing some functions at the new sign-up center. In a strategic use of our endowment funds, we purchased a much-needed new version of the church's administrative software, a product called Arena. We are now in the process of setting up Arena's powerful new features to be rolled out this spring, one of which will allow you to update your own personal profile. Arena will also enable the staff to engage with parishioners in a more robust way. With all these efforts, though, the main focus of engagement is to remember that we are all tasked with welcoming and engaging our parishioners. While we are working hard at helping new members enter and engage All Saints, we still have much work to do to improve our retention of existing members by making sure we pay attention to their need for continued involvement and spiritual growth. Last year, through an exhaustive statistical analysis, we tracked a slight and steady decline in membership and giving. This is a shift that mirrors national trends, and these trends are reflected here in All Saints in changes in our congregation and in our financial well-being. There are many reasons why this is happening, ranging from aging baby boomers to a decline in interest in institutions, including churches, by millennials who tend to not be joiners. We are responding to these trends by being nimble and creative in organizing our resources. We have formed a task force led by Chris Caldwell, our Vestry Finance Committee Chair, to analyze trends and recommend adjustments in our organization to adapt to these changes that we see coming down the road and so that we can remain financially healthy. I want to highlight one program that addresses these issues of declining attendance and also makes All Saints unique and special. That is our Children, Youth, and Families program. All Saints is a place where families with children can come and be in community. It is also a place where children and youth are introduced to life's complexities with a compassionate and open-minded worldview. A place for youth to explore their faith and put faith into action, and a place where young people can come together and reach out to others. I know this because I have been a Sunday school teacher here for 20 years, and because we raised two sons here who have become caring, empathetic adults who reflect the values of All Saints Church. So why do Phil and I support All Saints with our time and our money? And there are two reasons. First, All Saints is where I come to replenish my soul and renew my strength. Sitting in church with the liturgy washing over me gives me that strength. We need a place and a time to integrate compassion and kindness so we can make a healthy world. We all need this place to keep refreshed and looking outward. We are strengthened here so we can go out and make the world a healthier place. Second, it's about community. We are not alone. We cannot heal the world alone. We come to church to meet our good friends. We also come to engage and support and inspire each other. That is why All Saints has a bright and robust future. I would like to close with a story about stewardship and giving. There are a group of dedicated and awesome volunteers at All Saints who, at the end of the year, make hundreds of phone calls to parishioners who have not yet renewed their pledge. Some of you have received those. I know I have. I was helping with those calls one night at around 6:30 in the evening when I reached a young woman. As she answered the phone, I heard children's voices in the background, so I knew she was a young mom. As I asked if this was a good time to talk, I was thinking, for a mom who has kids to feed and bathe and put to bed at night, this is the worst time to receive a phone call. Yet, she was delighted to get a call from All Saints, and we talked. I thanked her for her prior giving to All Saints and asked if she was able to renew her pledge for 2015. There was a very long pause. She told me that she lost her job last year. There's another long pause. Now, I had learned early in my years of making these kinds of phone calls to not interrupt the pauses. So I let the silence remain, even though in my gut, I wanted desperately to get out of this phone call. She said she was so grateful for the Life and Livelihood program at All Saints Church during those very trying times when she was unemployed. She is now employed part-time, she told me, which is hard, but she had been warmly cared for by the priests and the staff of All Saints Church. And she wanted to make a pledge. There was another very long pause. Then she thoughtfully decreased her pledge to match her new income, and she again expressed deep gratitude for All Saints Church. That is why All Saints is so important. We are a place where souls can come together and be healed. That phone call helped me to better understand my own giving. I realize that I am very fortunate to have what I have, and a sentiment that I'm sure some of you share with me. It is our obligation, and it's our blessing to give our time and our money so that others can receive. Thank you.
We are happily at the concluding point with 10 minutes to spare, which is always desirable so that we can answer any kinds of questions that you may have. What's on docket for, just 1 minute, Merv. What's on, who can take a mic to Merv? He's ready when I'm ready to receive questions. What's on docket next week is to talk about the building, to talk about money, and my perspective on the state of the parish. So those questions we would probably postpone until next week. But if you have something to ask about anything else, including the rector search, we'd love to hear that question. Merv, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I'm 97 years old. And this kid, his name is Ed Bacon, and I think he's just too young and doing such a good job. He shouldn't be retiring.
Thank you, Merv. Thank you very much. Merv, it's time for me to come and have some classes with you about how I can live to be a vital 97-year-old. So that's why I'm retiring. Jean?
Yes, I'd like to ask the search committee if there are funds in the budget to bring prospective candidates here to see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a line item in the budget for 2015 for that purpose. Yes. Other questions? That actually has been something that's happened in the last 2 or 3 years where we've had time for questions and had a few and then didn't take up the entire time with questions. Let's just follow Nancy Necker's leadership and stay with the pause for a minute to see if somebody's heart is beating fast, which would mean that you're supposed to ask a question. Yes.
What do you think we can do to bring more millennials in? Has there been some conscious thought about that?
There's an awful lot of conscious thought about it. You want to talk, Nancy, about our special ops? Yeah. What can we do to bring more millennials in?
Oh, that is a really good question. We're going to try and talk to these millennials who are here to find out what brought them here and what keeps them here. We are looking at other churches and how they attract millennials. But we were realizing that millennials just don't come to institutions that much. They're not joiners. And so it's a new phase that we're going to have to address. So if anybody has any great ideas, let us know.
Let me add.
Yeah.
I would add that I do want to just reinforce that Nancy, the other wardens, a group of 7 people, including the chairs of the Rector Search Committee, have been meeting and talking with sociologists of religion, with bishops, have done a lot of research about trends, and are now really looking into social media. And all of us, I think, throughout our church are talking about the fact that, and this, let me say what the fact is and then say what I was going to say parenthetically, about the fact that Christianity and all religions have got to do religion and have to do faith community different than in the last 500 years. All of the church historians and religious historians are talking about our being in a change that could be comparable to the Protestant Reformation change. And that building worship around an organ in a church and expecting people to come to that is a more passive way than the way church is going to have to be conducted in the future. The presiding bishop has even weighed in on this. Barbara Harris, and I'll say a word about this next week, but Barbara Harris gave us a new vision about seeing church as movement more than institution. And finally, the whole notion of going out. So you probably have seen, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, we'll talk about it next week, but we're having a growing number of people who are streaming both the experiences that happen in this room and also the experiences that happen in the church at 11:15. And we are doing some very important soul searching about what that means in terms of social media and our using platforms to get the word out. And then, of course, the question is going to follow that. How do we monetize that? So, all of those questions are on the table. Please, Margaret.
I was just thinking as you were talking about it, I work a lot with the University of Laverne. And one of the most interesting projects or things that's going on there, and they've become nationally recognized for it, is their interfaith groups. And they have a group that there's something over 100 of them. And you know that's a small university, but there's something over 100 young people get together, and they profess to be atheists and belong they're Islam, and they're Jews, and they're every kind of religion that you can think of in Southern California gathers there, and then they talk about the whole world situation with regard to faith and ideas, and it's all very open. And I'm wondering if we could not establish something similar here, because it does attract them, and they just keep coming back, and they're doing a magnificent job of helping these young people develop their ideas. And they have, they all have this spiritual, moral, internal mechanism, one way or another, and we need to find new ways of approaching that. And I think All Saints is the perfect station in which to attract that from this part of the world.
I truly agree. We are losing our musicians at this point, which is a sign that it's time to wrap it up. Thank you for the comment, for the question about that, and all of the other questions. Thank you most of all for your presence and your love and your giving and your engagement at All Saints. We stand adjourned until next Sunday. Thank you.